Hello, lovely people. Welcome once again to Count Your Blessing. This is me, Kukwa Andam, and I'm glad you are watching. Today, I want us to take a look at the life of Rahab once again, and I'm asking us to pull down the wall of Jericho in our lives. And so the Bible talks about Rahab living in Jericho, and for the little I have read in the Bible, the narrative of Jericho is not that pleasant. We know that Jericho is a cursed city, and so everything that surrounded Jericho was a curse. So, in our personal lives, Jericho could be that particular thing that pulls us back, something that doesn't make us who we really want to be. So, Paul said that the things I want to do, I cannot do, but the thing that I don't want to do, that's what I do. Jericho is that thing that holds us back, that's cage us in, so that we are not living the way we want to, but then we are pretending to be something that we are not. And that is what the situation Rahab found herself in. Rahab was living in Jericho, and the only thing that Jericho could identify in Rahab was the fact that she was a prostitute. I can't believe that for somebody who has lived her whole life there, she hasn't done anything good in that land for her to be noted of doing something good. But everything about her life was Rahab the prostitute. And that is what Jericho does. Jericho tags us. So you can't be in Jericho and not be tagged. We remember in the Bible, once there was this prophet Elijah, and he was going towards Jericho, and the elders of the city asked him to come and help them because there was a water running through the city, and it has been tagged as bitter. Jericho always gives you a tag, and the tag Jericho gives you is an unpleasant one. It's a negative tag. Another example of Jericho tagging you negative is Achan. I think that the reason why God told the Israelites that when the wall is broken down, they shouldn't touch anything in Jericho was because of the tag it carries. So God didn't want his children to be tagged with Jericho because Jericho is a curse. And to be associated with Jericho means that you are not going to be who you are. And so God instructed Israelites that when they break down Jericho and they have overcome the city, they are not supposed to touch anything. And we see Achan decide to touch Jericho. And after taking the things, his life ended because he was tagged as a thief. And then he had to be stoned to death with all his family. And that is what Jericho does to us. So Jericho is not a pleasant place to be. Rahab was living in the city, and all her potentials and everything that she had to be was caged, and she was not able to express herself and live who she really was supposed to be, because she was living in a caged environment. She was living in an environment that couldn't bring out the best in her. And I am thinking that at a point in time, Rahab decided that enough was enough. She probably had thought of maybe coming out of Jericho, but she didn't know how. Well, that's what I think from the little Bible I read. I think that at a point in time, maybe she had thought of coming out of Jericho, but she didn't know how. And that is why maybe she embraced the spies and hid them. Because don't forget that in the Bible, we also read about Delilah, who sold Samson and was paid. It could have happened that Rahab could have hidden the spies and sold them out to maybe the king. Maybe she would just go to the king and say, "Oh, king, and you know these Israelites who want to invade our land. I have 2 spies in my room. Give me this amount of money." And I'm sure the king would have bought into that idea. But she didn't do that. And I think she didn't do that because she herself, she wanted to be out of Jericho. And so she, in her own way, pulled down that wall that kept her. So Jericho was so cursed that the person who decided even to rebuild that wall had to sacrifice his 2 sons. He started the war with one of his sons and then ended the war with the other. And that is how bad Jericho can be in our lives. Jericho is that destructive thing that decides that we can't go anywhere. We should be controlled and behave in a way that is not us. So Rahab was able to break down her wall by switching camps and then accepting the spies. And after accepting the spies, Rahab entered into her rest. Sometimes in life, we may be born into Jericho for some people, and for many others, we walk into Jericho. So Rahab was born in Jericho, and yet she was able to break out. But Achan, who wasn't born in Jericho, walked into Jericho by choices. And many a times we are made to choose, we are made to make decisions that make us end up in Jericho. And then we become entangled and we don't know what to do. So then I want to encourage you. I don't know which kind of Jericho that you are caged in, but identify your Jericho and then walk out of Jericho. Because Jericho is nothing pleasant. Jericho can only bring you sorrow, and it can only tie you. In the end, like Achan, you will be stoned to death. So come out of your Jericho. We can see that when Rahab decided to switch camps and she came out of Jericho, she was able to be a partaker of a blessing which initially she wasn't part of. And so Rahab joined the Israelites. And it amazes me how she was able to integrate herself into the Israel setup. Because in Jericho, she was free to do whatever she wanted. But you know, Israelites, there are a whole lot of laws and restrictions that you have to follow. And she was able to follow all this. Actually, we never get to know that Rahab ever became a prostitute in Israel. And that was because the wall that made her a prostitute had been broken down. So she was who she really was born to be. And in the end, as we all know, she became a mother of Zion, the great-great-great-grandmother of Jesus. So today, like I have said, identify your wall of Jericho. Identify that thing that doesn't want you to be who you were born to be. That thing that holds you back from being the best of you. And then pull it down. Switch camps. And then let's see what God can do with your life. God is ever faithful, He's ever loving, and He's always ready to help us. We just need to make our decisions. God bless you for watching. Thank you and have a pleasant time. Bye.